10, hell is a place that is prepared for those who reject the truth after it becomes very clear to them, and also those who continue to do evil deeds. And in Islam, there's great pleasures to be felt in paradise, but on the other hand, in hell, there is a lot of terrible suffering. Also, did you know that hell in Islam is described in different names? There is Al-Nar, that is fire, and it's mentioned 125 times in the Quran. Jahannam is probably the most popular term used to refer to hell, and this name implies that there is a deep pit, and it's mentioned 75 times in the Quran. Also, hell goes by Jahim, and that means a blazing fire, and it's mentioned 26 times. Sa'ir is an ignited or kindled fire. The next name that hell goes by is Saqar, and it's given this name because of the intensity of the heat. Lazia is another name, and that refers to blazing flames. And then there is Hawiya, and that means a deep drop, like someone is being dropped from the top to the bottom of a place. And name number 9 is Hotoma, and that refers to debris and broken pieces of something. Also in Islam, hell is eternal for most people who enter into hell. And let me explain. Well, there is a minority of Muslim scholars that hold the view that hell will eventually come to an end, but the majority hold the view that no, hell is actually 100% eternal. There is no end to it. Now, there's several verses in the Quran that describe hell as eternal, and here's a passage found in the Quran, Surah 5 verses 37, and it says, "They will wish to get out of the fire, but never are they to emerge therefrom, and for them is an enduring punishment." I assume most of us, when we think about hell, we don't think about eating food. But according to the religion of Islam, the people in hell are served food, and the food of the people in hell is described as only increasing in torment, but it doesn't really provide any sort of nourishment, nor does it even relieve any of their hunger. Now, a passage from the Quran, Surah 88 verses 6 to 7 says the following: "For them there will be no food except from a poisonous thorny plant, which neither nourishes nor avails against hunger." According to Islamic thought, there is also a special tree in hell that is called Zakum, and this tree is actually rooted at the bottom of hell, and its branches are described as being really similar to the heads of different devils. So in Surah 44 verses 43 to 46 in the Quran, it says this: "Indeed, the tree of Zakum is food for the sinful. Like murky oil, it boils within the bellies, like the boiling of scalding water." Like, I've had hot water before, like I've burnt my lip on tea, but this is some next level burning. But either way, that kind of leads us into fact number 6. Normally water brings relief and puts out fires, but the water in hell is like completely different. So we kind of got an idea of what it's like, but another passage in the Quran, Surah 22 verses 19 to 22, it says the following: "These are two adversaries who have disputed over their Lord, but those who disbelieved will have cut out for them garments of fire. Poured upon their heads will be scalding water, by which is melted that within their bellies and their skins. And for striking them are maces of iron. Every time they want to get out of hellfire from anguish, they will be returned to it, and it will be said, 'Taste the punishment of the burning fire.'" So in this passage, they're not actually consuming fire, but the fire is actually poured on them, similar to like taking a hot bath, but just imagine the heat turned up 1,000 times. So let's continue with number 5. Hell or Jahannam is described as being located below heaven, having 7 gates, each for a specific group or at least a different portion or type of sinner. The Quran does mention that wrongdoers have degrees or ranks according to their evil deeds, but some scholars believe this refers to the 7 gates. One mention of the levels of hell is that hypocrites will be found in its very, very bottom level. Also, according to most Muslims, on the day of judgment, the people who dwell in hell, they're actually going to see the place that they're supposed to be face to face, and they're actually going to realize that they were in complete error, and they're going to regret not choosing the right path. Also, in Islamic belief, Malik denotes an angel in hell who actually actually administrates the hellfire, and he's assisted by 19 mysterious guards, and those assistants are known as Zabaniya. In the Quran, Surah 40 verses 49 to 50, this is what it says: "And those in the fire will say to the keepers of hell, supplicate your Lord to lighten for us a day from the punishment. They will say, did there not come to you your messengers with clear proofs? They will say, yes. They'll reply, then supplicate yourselves. But the supplication of the disbelievers is not except in error." When it comes to hell in Islam, it is also believed that the unbelievers will actually conceal their regret when they see their final punishment, and they will actually have these yokes around their necks, and there's going to be a lot of weeping, crying for everybody. The Quran does mention this in Surah 11 verses 106 to 107, and it goes, "As for those who were destined to be wretched, they will be in the fire, for therein is violent exhaling and inhaling. They will be abiding therein as long as the heavens and the earth endure, except what your Lord should will. Indeed, your Lord is an effector of what he intends." And the final thing I want to share in this episode about hell in Islam is that other forms of punishment in hell actually exist, and it includes some of the inhabitants of hell getting lashed with very heavy clubs of iron. And it's believed that one of these clubs, if it was to be found on earth, all the combined strength of humans and jinn wouldn't actually even be able to lift it up. Also, if a mountain was to crash into it, the mountain would break into pieces. Ouch. So imagine getting hit with that. At number 10, there's a teaching that hell exists now. So hell exists at the present time and will continue to exist forever. It will never die down, and the people that inhabit hell will remain in it forever. Now, no one will come out of hell except sinful believers who believed in the oneness of God in this life and also believed in the specific prophet sent to them. Another teaching about hell is the Sufi interpretation. Sufis, they developed a sort of metaphysical interpretation of Jahannam or hell in Islam. Hell is still a place where sinners in this world are going to be sent to be punished, but Sufis have given some other characteristics to the notion of hell. According to Ibn Arabi, the terms hell and heaven refer in fact to distance from and proximity to God respectively. So if you're closer to God, that's heaven, and the further away from God, that's hell. The teaching at number 8 is of the Ahmadi interpretation. According to Ahmadi Islam, the places that people go to in the afterlife are images of human beings' own spiritual life during their lifetime. And the fire in hell is a manifestation of sins. The main purpose of hell is therefore regarded to purge people from all of their evil deeds. The teaching at number 7 is the 7 stages. So Jahannam or hell is traditionally believed to be divided in 7 stages, and those are as follows. The stage where the fire is for sinners among the Muslims. There's also a place for the sinners among Christians, and then also another destination for the sinners that live among the Jewish people. There's a stage where the burning fire is for renegades, and also a place for witches and fortune tellers is another stage. There's another fire for disbelievers, and also there's a bottomless pit for hypocrites like Pharaoh, who is talked about in the Quran as well as in the Bible, and also for people who disbelieved in Isa or Jesus's miracle of the table filled with food that came down from heaven, or for Muslims who are outwardly believers but inwardly they're unbelievers. There's another teaching about hell being alive. So there's some scholars like Al-Ghazali and the 13th century Muslim scholar Al-Qurtubi who describe hell as this massive conscious being rather than a place to go. And they base it on the verses in the Quran, like Surah 67 verses 7 that says, when they are thrown into it, they hear from it a dreadful inhaling while it boils up. And also in the Quran, Surah 50 verses 30, there's a passage that says this: on the day we will say to hell, have you been filled? And it will say, are there some more? So based on passages like that, there are many scholars who believe that hell also has some sort of consciousness. There's so many different beliefs and information about hell according to the religion of Islam. We did another video that's dedicated to all sorts of information, and that link, I'll have it below in the video description section. I definitely want you to check out that one. We've also done similar videos about various different topics like this, so definitely check out the video description section. I'll have some interesting links to other videos also that you'll definitely will enjoy and help expand your knowledge. The teaching at number 5 is that hell is big. Like, it's massive. The Hadith, it gives some more details about the description of hell. For example, it's perceived to be so deep that if a stone was to be thrown down into hell, it would fall for 70 years straight before it ever reached the bottom. Also, the span of each of hell's walls is equivalent to a distance that covers a walking journey of 40 years. So imagine walking for 40 years. I can't even imagine walking for 40 minutes. All right, so we talked about the size of hell and some other beliefs about it. There's also mentions of the forces of hell. And this teaching is that in hell, the people that are thrown into hell are going to be tormented by Zabania, and these are the forces of hell. Jahannam, or hell, is depicted as an abyss that has scorching winds, and also the Asirat bridge is going to be above. And by the way, that is the bridge that every single human being must cross on Judgment Day according to the Islamic belief. Also, the gates of hell are guarded by Malik and his subordinate angels. And then in the Quran, Surah 4 verses 168, you'll find a passage that says this: "Indeed, those who disbelieve and commit wrong or injustice, never will Allah forgive them, nor will He guide them to a path." Also, where is hell anyways? You got to know that there is no specific mention from the Quran or any of the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad that actually pinpoint a specific location of hell. And no one knows the exact place. Muslims believe that only God knows that. And due to some of the difference in translations and languages and just the different linguistic styles, when some scholars look at the Hadith, they believe that hell is in the heavens, but others believe that hell is actually in the lower parts of the earth. But either way, that is a topic still up for debate. There's not a 100% census in the Muslim community of where in fact hell actually is. Number 2 brings us the 7 gates. Now, like I talked about the 7 stages, there's also the 7 gates that are mentioned in the Quran. And that is found in Surah 15 verses 43 to 44, and it says, "And indeed, hell is a promised place for them all. It has 7 gates. For every gate is of them a portion designated." It's believed that each gate is going to have its own allotted share of those who will be punished in hell, and each will enter according to their deeds and assigned a level of hell accordingly. Also, when unbelievers are brought to hell, its gates will be wide open and they're going to pass through it and stay in there forever. Now, for the final teaching of hell according to the religion of Islam, we looked at various different schools of thoughts in Islam, so it's not just one specific teaching that we're looking at. But anyways, this teaching is that stones and stubborn unbelievers make the fuel of hell. In the Quran, Surah 66 verses 6, it says, "O you who have believed, protect yourself and your families from a fire whose fuel is the people and stones, over which are appointed angels, harsh and severe. They do not disobey Allah in what He commands them, but do what they are commanded." Now, there's another source of fuel for hell, which is going to be the pagan gods that were worshipped besides the one true God. And now there's another passage that says, "Indeed, you disbelievers and what you worship other than Allah are the firewood of hell. You will be coming to enter it. Had these false deities been actual gods, they would not have come to it, but all are eternal therein." That passage is taken from Surah 21 verses 98 to 99 in the Quran. Jump into this episode starting with number 10, and that's believing in Allah and His Messenger. This, by the way, is the first pillar of Islam, and it's believed that this is the first step that a Muslim should take to prevent themselves from hellfire, also known as Jahannam. As a matter of fact, according to the hadith that Ubadah ibn Samit narrated, he says that the Prophet Muhammad Muhammad said these words: "Whoever witnesses that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, Allah forbids the fire from touching him." Next up, at number 9, we have fasting. Now, fasting is also a source of protection from hellfire, and it's reported by Jabir ibn Abdullah that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: "Allah the Exalted says, fasting is a shield with which one may protect oneself from the fire." There is also another hadith by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri that says this: "Whoever fasts for one day when he is engaged in jihad for the sake of Allah, Allah will remove him 70 years distance from the fire." And speaking of that, that actually brings us to our next point. So fearing Allah and jihad for his sake is also protection from the fire of hell. There's one passage in the Quran that says this: "But for him who fears the standing before his Lord, there will be 2 gardens in paradise." That's found in the Quran, Surah 55 verses 46. Also, it's reported that the Prophet Muhammad said these following words: "No one who weeps out of fear of Allah will enter hell until the milk goes back into the breast, and a man will never have both the dust from fighting in the way of Allah and the smoke of hell." To reinforce this point, Muslims also look at a hadith by Abu Abs, and that specific hadith says, "No 2 feet that get dusty for the sake of Allah will ever be touched by the fire." Al-Istighfar comes in at number 7, and now this means to seek forgiveness, which in reality is a form of dua, which is a prayer of supplication to Allah. Now, it's believed that it can erase all the bad deeds that somebody has done, and specifically in the Quran, Surah 39 verses 53, check out what it says. "Say, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves by sinning, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. Indeed, it is He who is the forgiving, the merciful." Number 6 brings us tawbah. Now, tawbah refers to a state of mind, specifically the state of mind of regret. So if you feel guilty, you need to make tawbah according to Muslim teaching. In the Quran, there's a whole surah, as a matter of fact, called Tawbah, and it's Surah 9. And in the specific verse, number 11, this is what it says: "But if they repent, establish prayer, give zakah, then they are your brothers in religion." And we detail the verses for people who know. Guys, so that was a brief look at 10 things that protect you from hellfire according to the religion of Islam. Really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you really gained some understanding on this perspective of hell and what you can do to avoid it. Again, regardless of if you believe this or not, I hope you enjoyed this episode. That's what we do here on FTD Facts. We like to talk about the different countries, cultures, and religion and people from all around the world so that we can gain a better understanding of each other. Don't forget to check out the recommended episodes that I talked about. Those links are below in the video description section as well. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode.